Welcome to Fiberstar's Citri-Fi, Citrus Fiber and Plant-Based Foods webinar. We want to thank you for attending this session. Before we start, let's review a few housekeeping items. The webinar is muted to provide you with the highest audio quality. This recorded webinar and the PowerPoint presentation will be available to you. You can ask questions at any time during this webinar. To do so, please locate your question box, type directly into the box and push submit. These questions will be answered at the end of the session. And if you have any additional questions, please contact your Fiberstar sales manager and we will follow up promptly. A survey will follow this webinar. Please take a moment to fill this out. We use your feedback to improve future webinars. The question and answer session will take place at the end with Dr. Brock Lundberg and Dr. Shuai Li. They will both be available at the end of the session to answer any questions you may have. Before we begin, I would like to take a moment to introduce myself. I am Sheila McWilliams, Regional Sales Manager for Fiberstar. My territory is the southeast and southern part of the U.S. My colleague Deepa Sethi, also a Regional Sales Manager, covers the northeast U.S. We both started at Fiberstar in June of 2020, and we will both be presenting today. Today, we'll be covering the following topics. First, we'll review Citri-Fi, citrus fiber's key positioning, benefits, and product lines. Then we will move into the core of the session, which will cover two key areas in plant-based foods, which are dairy alternatives and meat substitutes. Citri-Fi citrus fiber is an ideal natural ingredient for the plant-based foods category. Fiberstar uses patented technology to offer a sustainable advantage by using byproduct of citrus juicing to create this natural upcycled fiber. The process is free from chemical modifications and it opens up the fiber to high water holding and emulsification. There is a high concentration of intact pectin in Citri-Fi, which provides the emulsification and gelling properties. Due to Citri-Fi's high level of functionality, this natural citrus fiber can replace ingredients such as modified starches, gums, emulsifiers, natural stabilizers, allergens, phosphates, fats, oils, and other E-number ingredients. The result is shorter and more recognizable ingredient statements. And since Citri-Fi can be labeled as citrus fiber, dried citrus pulp, or citrus flower, it really resonates well in the natural and clean label markets. Citri-Fi has no E-number and is non-GMO project certified. Fiberstar's citrus fiber is allergen-free, gluten-free, and contributes fiber to the nutritional label. Citri-Fi provides multiple benefits depending on the type of plant-based food. Overall, the key benefits include improved texture, stability, and replacing non-clean ingredients, which moves products toward a consumer-friendly, clean label. Details of the benefits in each application will be covered throughout the presentation. We have 4 different product lines in the current Citri-Fi portfolio. The 100 line is only citrus fiber and is offered in several particle sizes. The Citri-Fi TX10 is a texturizing citrus fiber. The 200 line contains guar gum and the 300 line contains xanthan gum for applications that require additional viscosity. So depending on the product's functionality and label requirements, all of the products can be used in plant-based formulations. The type of application will dictate which Citri-Fi line and particle size we recommend. So for emulsions, we recommend a smaller particle size, but for added texture and mouthfeel, we recommend a larger particle size citrus fiber. There are several challenges in creating plant-based products. Stability may be compromised and require special processing to meet consumers' expectations on shelf life and quality. Consumers have historically expected some compromise in the flavor, texture, and appearance of plant-based foods compared to traditional products. But the true challenge is to create dairy alternatives that have the same body and mouthfeel, or meat analogs that have the same bite and succulence as the animal-based version. So on top of meeting sensory attributes, the challenge is to do all of this with natural, clean label, no E number ingredients. Citri-Fi can be used in a variety of plant-based milks to create stability, full body mouthfeel, and replace E numbers. Citri-Fi can be used in a variety of plant-based milks such as almond, oat, coconut, rice, soy, and cashew. Here in this formula, we highlight Citri-Fi in an almond milk. Another benefit of Citri-Fi is that homogenization allows the milk to be formulated without the use of ingredients like gellan or xanthan gum. A homogenized milk with Citri-Fi is stable and has a smooth texture. Citri-Fi is a great emulsifier, but it also increases in functionality with high shear. A unique property of Citri-Fi is that added shear produces higher functionality. Here, a Citri-Fi emulsion is homogenized at different pressures. The result is reduced oil droplet size, which improves water binding and increases viscosity and creaminess. In this study, homogenization is ideal at 180 bar or higher. The plant milk is homogeneous and stable, but if you cannot process to this level of pressure, we recommend homogenizing twice to achieve a homogeneous and stable plant-based milk. Here you can see unhomogenized plant milk separates due to protein denaturation. The protein and the fibers settle to the bottom. However, the homogenized plant milk with Citri-Fi remains stable even after 4 weeks. There are multiple commercial plant milk products containing citrus fiber sold in the global marketplace. This is a growing segment due to the clean label trend. Another popular development area is plant-based fermented products. Citri-Fi benefits include starch replacement, smooth and natural mouthfeel, and syneresis reduction. Here is a starting formulation using Citri-Fi in a cultured dessert, like a plant-based yogurt. In this formula, it is best to mix Citri-Fi with the dry ingredients before hydrating with plant milk, and also before the culture is added. This allows Citri-Fi to hydrate well, so it is fully functional in the formula. I want to also note that the Citri-Fi usage rate can be lowered if there is a homogenization step. Because remember, shear improves the functionality of Citri-Fi. Due to the low protein content in plant milk, only very weak gels form when fermented. So other ingredients are needed to help stabilize the plant yogurt and build texture. If a formula uses a strong gelling agent, there will be syneresis. But the benefit of adding Citri-Fi is that it binds water to reduce syneresis in a plant-based yogurt. Agar can be used as a gelling agent. Here you can see different agars create different textures, or starches can be used to develop a texture different than an agar-based product. Fermented almond milk with Citri-Fi improves the mouthfeel and viscosity. It also gives a creamier, glossier texture, and Citri-Fi is great at water holding, so it reduces syneresis. So all the benefits of Citri-Fi on texture, appearance, and stability improve the quality of the finished product, not just at the beginning of shelf life, but throughout shelf life. Here are just a few examples of the variety of fermented products using citrus fiber. Now we are going to change our focus to sauces and dressings. Citri-Fi can also provide multiple benefits in mayonnaise-like products, such as replacing egg, dairy protein, and starches, providing emulsification, and creating thick and smooth textures. Citri-Fi can be used to replace egg in mayonnaise by providing emulsification. In combination with xanthan gum, the vegan mayonnaise in this formula is stable, thick, and creamy. Citri-Fi can also be used to make other types of plant-based dressings like vegan ranch dressing. This natural citrus fiber provides emulsification, stability, and thickness. Regular ranch dressing is typically made with mayonnaise, yogurt, and buttermilk. All of these components contain animal-derived ingredients. So the challenge in making a plant-based version using natural ingredients is that they still provide the needed emulsification and viscosity. For the ranch dressing, the focus is making an egg-free mayonnaise and a fermented plant milk. The fermented plant milk replaces the yogurt and buttermilk components. So egg-free mayonnaise and fermented plant milk are combined to make the finished vegan ranch dressing. What's innovative is that the formulations can be used alone or as a backbone or building block to formulate other types of sauces and dressings. Here, the Citri-Fi is again providing emulsification, which stabilizes the formulation. As mentioned, this mayonnaise will be combined with fermented plant milk to make the final ranch dressing. Because the fermented plant milk will be thick and creamy, there is no need to add xanthan gum for added viscosity. So this vegan mayonnaise formula does not contain xanthan. In this cultured milk, Citri-Fi is used to deliver viscosity and to bind water to reduce syneresis. For the final dressing, the vegan mayonnaise is combined with the fermented plant milk along with minor ingredients to create the vegan ranch dressing. As you can see, the dressing is creamy and smooth and has a texture similar to a traditional version. There are a variety of plant-based condiments, dressings, and sauces using citrus fiber on the market. As plant-based foods continue to grow in popularity, so will this category, along with the use of citrus fiber because of its clean label benefits. Now my colleague Deepa will continue with frozen desserts.
Thank you, Sheila. Another popular area is in plant-based frozen desserts. Citri-Fi improves these products by replacing stabilizers so you can get a clean label, but it also helps in reducing ice crystal formulation and improving mouthfeel. Coconut milk is a common plant milk to use when creating frozen desserts. As Sheila mentioned, we recommend adding Citri-Fi to the dry ingredients before hydrating. This helps Citri-Fi to disperse fat and avoid any lumps to get maximum functionality. Here's the starting formula as an example. Our distributor, Car Dry Ingredients in Canada, prepared a prototype using Citri-Fi citrus fiber. Here, the citrus fiber is used in a passion fruit frozen dessert to improve mouthfeel, reduce ice crystal, and add to stability. This prototype uses oat milk, which is growing in popularity in most plant foods. Plant-based frozen desserts is another growing area of interest. As you can see here, citrus fiber can be used in a variety of formats, from bars to hard-packed tubs. plant-based cheeses are the next growing category. Citri-Fi functionally helps create vegan cheeses to emulsify and reduce starches. So not only that it's highly functional, but it contributes to sensorial attributes like improving meltability and great texture. Currently, Fiberstar is actively working in creating new solutions in this area. Fiberstar distributed GMP in Turkey has been working with Citri-Fi for a while now. This is a prototype formulation shared by them demonstrating the benefits of Citri-Fi. This natural citrus fiber is being used as an example here at 0.25%. As mentioned, plant-based cheeses is an up-and-coming area for new product development. This brand uses Citri-Fi in many different kinds of cheeses to improve functionality and improve meltability and smooth texture. In the next few slides, we will cover meat alternatives. Citri-Fi works excellent in meat alternatives. This product line provides emulsification, juiciness, hot and cold binding, and meat-like texture, which are all desirable attributes in creating meat substitutes. Today, we will discuss Citri-Fi in plant-based meat patty and meatballs. However, Citri-Fi is not limited to these applications, but can be used in any other plant-based meat analogs like plant-based cheeses, plant-based deli meat, sausages, and many more. There are two citrus fiber products that provide separate functional benefits. Depending on the developer's goals, they could use one or both to create high-quality products. First, there is the Citri-Fi 100 series. These products are typically used between 0.5% to 2%. These citrus fiber provides emulsification and water binding so that the meat substitutes are juicy and succulent. This Citri-Fi series can also help reduce the amount of fat used in the formulation. The other citrus fiber product is Citri-Fi TX10. This product is typically used between 1 to 4%. This texturizing citrus fiber creates the meat-like appearance, taste, and texture. Also, TX10 helps with cold binding so that its formed products do not fall apart before they are cooked. We recommend using both the 100 series and the TX10 together in the formulation to take advantage of all the benefits. When used together, they help increase firmness in both pre- and post-cooked products. Also, this combination helps creating hot binding, which can potentially replace methicellulose when used with other natural ingredients. Here's the typical process to make a meat alternative patty. The Citri-Fi TX10 is mixed into the TVP before hydration. To make the Citri-Fi 100 emulsion, the citrus fiber is mixed into the oil first. Then the water is added to the oil mixture. After some agitation, an emulsion will form. Then the emulsion is added to the second step and mixed in. The rest of the process involves mixing all the components together, forming patties, and then cooking. Citri-Fi can be used together with methicellulose to create high-quality patties. Here you can see that Citri-Fi TX10 provides superior cold binding versus methicellulose alone. But when Citri-Fi is used with methicellulose, it increases the hot binding versus using methicellulose alone. With that in mind, using a combination of Citri-Fi and methicellulose can potentially reduce the methicellulose usage rate, which can create cost savings. Here's a typical meat substitute starting formulation using both Citri-Fi 100 FG and Citri-Fi TX10. In this instance, there is no methicellulose included. This formulation won the Plant-Based Innovation Award at the 2019 Food Ingredient Europe Trade Show. The innovation evaluation team had to create the meat alternative using our formulation. In the end, they were able to see how Citri-Fi products create clean, superior meat alternative without using methacellulose. One of Fiberstar's distributor in Asia, Cornell Brothers, also created their meat analog prototype using both Citri-Fi 100 FG and Citri-Fi TX10. Here they shared their prototype formulation. As you can see, we have a library of several different formulations based on your labeling and processing needs. Another distributor partner in Indonesia, MDK, also created their meat alternative prototype formulation. However, in this one, they used only Citri-Fi 100 FG to provide emulsion and water binding to create the juicy and succulent texture. The formulation created plant-based meatballs that differed in texture. As you can see, the control pitch on the top right corner without citrus fiber were hard and the texture was rough and dry. The meatballs with Citri-Fi were easy to handle and the TVP bound well. And the texture was smooth and moist, as you can see in the other picture. The meat alternative area, though, is one of the most mature plant-based markets, but it's still growing exponentially due to increased demand. Here are a few examples of products containing citrus fiber. As you can see, citrus fiber benefits not only patty-type products, but also links, cutlets, nuggets, and many other formats. Fiberstar continues to create new products and solutions for the quickly growing plant-based food category. There are a couple new products in the pipeline, including a lighter color product that produces higher viscosity and additional functionality versus the standard line, which is beneficial to key applications like plant milks, creamers, dressings, dips, and many more. Another product line includes enzymatically treated citrus fiber, which will provide additional functionality that will improve products like cultured desserts. And as mentioned before, Fiberstar is also working to create new solutions in the fast-growing plant-based cheeses, meats, and dressings category. We anticipate an exciting 2021 with the latest developments. Below, we have put together a quick reference guide for you to use while formulating with citrus fiber in your plant-based applications. As you can see, typical usage of Citri-Fi is between 0.25% to 4% depending on the application. Due to high functionality of Citri-Fi citrus fiber, a small amount goes a long way in achieving stability, texture, and providing the clear label, which are all desirable attributes in plant-based applications. We want to thank you for attending this plant-based food webinar. As mentioned, Fiberstar will continue to pioneer new products and clean solutions in growing area. If you have any questions, please enter them now. If you need any further assistance, please feel free to contact anyone on the slide and we will respond promptly. Now we will move to the question and answer session. Dr. Lundberg will take the first question.
Okay. Thank you very much, Deepa, and also Sheila, for that overview. I appreciate the insights you have on the plant-based food applications for Citri-Fi. We do have some time available for questions. We'd like to receive and respond to any questions you may have. Both Dr. Shaili and myself are available. And also Deepa and Sheila would also be available. And hopefully together we can, between the four of us, answer any questions you may have. Shai, we do have a question about the plant-based meats. Wondering about if we've ever formed sausage or wiener type products with Citri-Fi for the plant-based application.
Okay. We've been working with our solution based on Citri-Fi TX10 and 100FG, but mainly work is based on the patties. However, this combination ideas or the hypothesis are kind of work for different types of meat, like sausage or wiener type products. I think this is kind of a similar idea. The Citri-Fi 100FG will form the emulsion, providing juiciness, seasoning effect, and also the binding the fat. And the Citri-Fi TX10 provides the texture, the meat texture, and also providing cold binding. And so combining with this two products and with other solutions, and we're able to use that for the different types of plant-based products.
Okay, thank you. A question from Australia, I believe. Is the TX10 available in different particle sizes? I guess I can probably respond to that. Feel free to jump in, anyone else, but right now we only have the specific particle size of the TX10 between 6 and 8 mesh. We have experimented with several different sizes, but have kind of figured out this to be the right kind of medium size that works well in our production equipment as well as the application. It would be theoretically possible to produce a different particle size. Definitely larger particle sizes are more challenging from a processing perspective, just for flowability. It is actually quite unique that we are actually able to make a TX10, and that's something that the other citrus fiber companies would have a much more difficult time producing because they're focused more on pectin extraction, where you need the high surface area through smaller particle sizes. But in our process, without doing the pectin extraction, we can make the TX10 particle size, in a wide range of sizes. So for sure, we would be happy to kind of entertain some recommendations for sizes that you think may work better. Right now, the TX10 is averaging about 1.5 millimeter in particle size, whereas the Citri-Fi 100 is about 350 average particle size. So theoretically, somewhere in between there, it would be quite easy to make a size between those two, just through some varying of our milling operations. So good question. Okay. Another question along that line, Shai, this one would be probably best for you. As far as the rehydration, what do you recommend for water addition, specifically for the TX10?
Okay, so for Citri-Fi TX10, we usually hydrate it with 2 times of water. So which means the 1 part of Citri-Fi TX10 and 2 part of water actually are 2 or 3 parts. It really depends on the applications. And however, I highly recommend that to hydrate the TX10 if you're working with plant-based products. If you're using the texturized protein, for example, TVP, you can hydrate them together. So mix them together and then hydrate the TVP with TX10 together. That would have a little more, more benefits for each protein or Citri-Fi.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. A question of maybe actually just to add on to that, the water holding capacity of TX10 is actually more, significantly more than 2 or 3 times its weight. But we recommend the 2 parts, like Shai recommended, for the reason of we're trying to really maintain a firm patty, trying to capture some of the additional water and juices that can otherwise make the proteins very soft and mushy. So, so we're trying to actually enhance firmness and by controlling some of the moisture water migration, and the TX10 is part of that, and that's partly where that ratio comes from for the 2 to 1.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, for the TX10 itself, it can hold like about 8 to 9 times of its base dry weight. That's their water holding capacity. But this ratio is not exactly based on that.
Yep. Okay, very good. A question about, is it possible to use Citri-Fi in cream to increase viscosity? So I'm not exactly sure the cream, but I guess the answer really doesn't matter, because the answer would apply to a range of different applications, but certainly Citri-Fi does add creaminess, and it could also add viscosity to creams. Citri-Fi is very effective at emulsification. So depending on the composition, it actually could function as an emulsifier as well to provide kind of multifunctional benefits. But ideally, for viscosity purposes, for the best or the biggest bang for the buck, the product would be homogenized, if that is possible, or sheared. Some type of shear would really make sure that it adds a lot of viscosity. So typically we would use, I guess, the 100 FG or the 100 M40, but there would be significantly more viscosity with the 200 FG if that is an option. That product does have the citrus fiber plus guar gum with the 200, but with the citrus fiber only product line, we would use 100 FG or the 100 M40 typically, and to really increase viscosity, ideally add some shear and try to add the Citri-Fi early to the formula so that it has time to rehydrate. I guess we maybe that, feel free to ask a follow-up question. There is, for anyone that wants to ask additional questions, you can just add it to the question dialog box as part of the GoToWebinar if there's any questions about how to add or list some questions. And feel free to add a follow-up. You don't have to only add one. A question about vegan cheeses with cashew nut as a base. Have we done any work in that area? I guess feel free to jump in anyone else, but the most actually work that we've done in vegan cheeses relates back to what Deepa was covering in the plant-based cheeses in one of the slides of this PowerPoint, where actually it was primarily the 100 M20 that provided a lot of emulsification properties. But I do not know if one of those was cashew or not, as far as the base, but we can follow up on that, get you some additional information. But the closest cheese work that we have was included as part of this webinar in this PowerPoint, with a range of different vegan cheese products. Okay, thank you, Sally. A question about, can Citri-Fi replace gum acacia and guar gum in a sugar-free popsicle for mouthfeel, freezing, and thawing? So replacement of gum acacia and guar gum. That's a good question. Actually, I'll try to respond and kind of some of my experience. We don't exactly have a formulation for this, but Citri-Fi has been used in many sugar-free applications where the Citri-Fi is used for mouthfeel specifically. It can add some body to the products. We definitely would want to use a smaller particle size and get it well hydrated so that you can't have a detectable mouthfeel. But with the 100M40, possibly the 100M20, but the 100M40 would be a place to start. It would be theoretically kind of something that would make sense. We have many other beverage type applications where Citri-Fi has been used to replace sugar, and it doesn't add the sweetness, but it does add mouthfeel. And some of these gums, especially the gum acacia, would be probably the better fit in terms of which one, just because Citri-Fi would be used at a much lower usage rate. It's a better emulsifier. It has good mouthfeel. It's easier to incorporate. The mixing process for Citri-Fi is quite simple compared to gum acacia, which can take quite a bit of time to rehydrate. And Citri-Fi is freeze-thaw stable as well. So the gum acacia would be probably a better starting point for replacement, but it's possible that both could be replaced. We haven't actually done a lot of work in popsicles. It sounds like a great job. Make popsicles. Look forward to testing that someday. But I guess, I don't know, anyone else feel free to jump in, but I haven't done a lot of work with popsicles, but it sounds very interesting. We've done other sugar-free applications. Okay. You have a customer interested to replace guar gum and xanthan in bakery products. What would you suggest they use? Typically for this application, for some of the gum replacement, we've used 100 FG. That would be the most common. We actually do have some work in starting formulations. If I remember correctly, we use significantly less 100 FG compared to the guar gum. And maybe if you reach out to your Fiberstar representative, one of us can provide you with that work, that application work that's been done for the gum replacement in bakery. We did a lot of that work several years ago when there was the shortage of guar gum and the price skyrocketed and it was difficult to source. And so a lot of the testing that we did with guar gum replacement in bakery came from that time, and it worked quite well. And we still have those customers. All right. In keto energy bars, could Citri-Fi TX10 work as a binding agent to replace some oil, like in the meat application? Shai, do you want to try to tackle this? So basically, it's an energy bar working for a binding agent with, there's probably proteins in there. Also,
yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I would say like if we want more like texture to add it to this the energy bars, the TX10 would be works. And however, we are usually using like Citri-Fi 100 FG as a starting point to replace the partial oil because it is a good emulsifier. It binds oil and give you a better mouthfeel. And so I would say yes, but really depends on your formulation, and it's possible to combine both TX10 and Citri-Fi 100 FG. But these two different products have showing a little different benefits. Yeah, that's my recommendation, I think.
Okay. Thank you. A question about emulsifiers and some of these formulas that we've shown throughout this PowerPoint, could the lecithin or other emulsifiers be replaced? Shai, do you want to start that one? And some of the some of the dressings are wondering about the emulsifiers. Can Citri-Fi replace them? Emulsifiers such as lecithin or emulsifying starches.
Okay. Yes, and Citri-Fi have a very unique function that is emulsification. It's a very good, I mean, a biopolymer and providing a good oil binding and water binding properties, and in a very large range, different pH and different salt concentration, and under like room temperature freeze thaw, and so it is quite good to replace many of the those like lecithin or other type of emulsifier in the food area. Yeah. And just saying a little bit more then, for the oil binding and Citri-Fi, for example, the Citri-Fi 140, which is the best emulsifier based on our product series, it can kind of have up to 60% oil, which means the 60% oil, 40% water, and 1 or 2, 3% Citri-Fi to have a really stable emulsion for a really long time. We have been testing it at over 2 years. It's still there.
And we've also seen that Citri-Fi would be used many times less compared to both a lecithin or emulsifying starch, just because of the higher oil binding capacity, which provides a cost savings as well. A question about ice cream. Do you have Citri-Fi suitable for vanilla-based ice cream with low flavor impact? I guess it's a good question. I mean, one of the pros and cons of Citri-Fi is, I mean, it's really good at emulsifying, so it should be used at very low usage rates. And if it's used at higher usage rates, it definitely would bind some oils, which in the case of vanilla, you want to have a strong vanilla taste, so it can have a flavor impact. The usage rate is quite important. The other important part of ice cream would be the mixing process, to try to minimize the amount of time that the Citri-Fi is in contact with the vanilla itself. Basically, we want to try to hydrate it with as much water as possible so that it's fully well sheared and hydrated early in the process. We do have some grades of Citri-Fi, such as 100M20, that could be suitable if you really want to minimize flavor for this application. It's worked well in many other types of dairy products. That could be an option. I guess it depends on how much work you've done with 100M40. 100M40 is our most common for ice cream, either the 100M40 or the 200FG. But if flavor is really the focus, then we need to be thinking about viscosity. Viscosity has a very big difference, can make a big difference in the flavor profile. And so even though we haven't done a lot of work specifically with 100M20 in ice cream, we have done a lot of work in other dairy applications where it's worked quite well. So I wouldn't rule that one out as another possibility. And I guess it depends a little if you've already done some testing and what that feedback may have been. And we can definitely work with you to come up with some recommendations on next steps. But Okay, another question on a coconut-based ice cream. Do we have any applications? Actually, we do. And we have an application sheet with the starter formulation that we did in-house at Fiberstar as well, specifically for coconut. And we'd be happy to share that. So Nick would have that, or myself. And that's been a good application for us with coconut. A question about methylcellulose replacement for the meat alternatives. What is the cost for replacing methylcellulose? So we've actually, thanks to Shai, been quite active in this area and developing some new technologies. And you saw some of the successes that we had as part of this webinar. And it's an area that's continuing to grow. We have put together a cost comparison chart for anybody that is interested. We'd be happy to share that for some kind of model formulations with a control and test. It depends a little bit on what the ingredients are and what the local prices are, but we've put together kind of a guideline for pricing and showing basically when we use just the Citri-Fi TX10 plus the 100 FG plus starch as part of the replacement for methylcellulose, we end up being very cost neutral, in part because of the lower usage rates plus the extra water binding capacity, and considering the cost of methylcellulose, it ends up being about cost neutral. Okay, let's see. Another question about another meat alternative question. Could you talk a little bit, maybe Shai, about the process for forming the emulsion? When you make the emulsion in the meat alternative, maybe just say the order of addition, if you wouldn't mind just talking through that.
Okay. And generally, when we preparing meat alternative products, I will start to making the emulsion first. And we will use our product, the Citri-Fi 100 FG, combining the oil, as an example, the coconut oil and the water. The partial of the water used here to make an emulsion, and we would like to solidify the emulsion into the freezer to let the emulsion under a relative solid state. And then the second part is the hydration of Citri-Fi TX10 and the TVP as an example. And we'll mix the TVP and the Citri-Fi TX10 together, and with the water at a certain ratio, generally like a 1-to-1 or maybe a little bit more water, and hydrate the TVP and the TX10. And so then we are using the different solutions. For example, we may add starch, or using the enzyme treatment, or using the alginate or the gel and gum solutions. And all this either starch or the gums can be incorporated with the emulsion part, or added separately, and just before adding the emulsion, which means to add those ingredients, or also the seasonings and or whatever natural flavors you want added to the mixture of the TX10 and the TVP. And then finally, we adding the emulsion and mix everything, and it will form a patty. Yeah, that is kind of a general procedure.
Okay, All right, I think we have one more question that I can see here, but if there's any more, feel free to type them in. But a question about the other citrus fibers in the marketplace and how they compare to Citri-Fi for plant-based applications. So I can start answering that, but feel free to jump in. I guess for starters, the Citri-Fi is not a byproduct of the pectin extraction, and Citri-Fi has native pectin intact, which means it has many different functional properties, and hydration procedures are actually quite straightforward because it readily absorbs water without the need for special rehydration steps. Citri-Fi is non-ionic as a result of not going through the acid process, which all the other citrus fibers do. And that non-ionic character makes it very stable with a multitude of wide pH ranges and salt conditions. So from a stability standpoint, there's some real significant benefits for shelf life and quality of the products with Citri-Fi. Another important part is just the emulsification properties and the fact that Citri-Fi has long molecular weight pectin plus residual proteins in the product that make it very useful for oil binding. And without the pectin or even damaged pectin, the emulsification and oil binding properties are significantly less with other citrus fibers. Another important part is just texture in some of these salad dressings. For instance, we can just use Citri-Fi 100M40. The properties are very smooth and creamy, and it doesn't even necessarily need homogenization to form that creamy, smooth mouthfeel. And that's in part just because of the higher content of soluble fiber. It's not only insoluble. As you extract pectin, there's more and more insoluble character and higher insoluble content that makes it a little more or a little less smooth. So it adds additional kind of insoluble particulate mouthfeel. One relatively simple but actually quite useful property of the Citri-Fi production is that we can produce different particle sizes quite easily. We don't need to mill to such a fine particle size to extract pectin, so we can make products such as the TX10. So that is another advantage and unique property where other citrus fiber companies are going to have a difficult time making a large particle size. So I guess that's a brief overview of a comparison, but there are definitely citrus fibers on the marketplace, but in our opinion, it actually adds to the credibility of citrus fiber and of Fiberstar to have those other companies in the marketplace promoting citrus fiber as a viable alternative to some of the bigger ingredient players in the marketplace that had been around for hundreds of years. And Citri-Fi is relatively new to the marketplace. So we're gaining traction and getting the interest of several competitors. So that's a good thing to just create overall awareness. Okay, so I guess that's all the questions that I can see. If I have missed any, you feel free to reach out to any of your Fiberstar representatives or myself at any time. Our contact information is listed here on the slides. We are always available to provide technical and sales support. We try to do a good job at that. We know that Citri-Fi is a technical-based sale and requires that support for earning the successes at the customer applications. Okay, unless there's anything else, I think we'll wrap it up for today and look forward to working with you. And thank you very much for your time and attention on this webinar.